Welcome to Date Smart, what you should have learned but didn't. This is a channel about dating advice, dating with boundaries, high self esteem, and high standards that really you should have learned from your mother, your grandmother, female relatives and friends, and the media, but you didn't. Things didn't turn out so well. You've struggled with relationships. You've had perhaps men that hurt you, treat you badly, let you down. You have a fantastic date. They just never call again. They suddenly ghost you. They unmatch you. And you wonder what went wrong. So, this channel is about dating with boundaries. So, here we go. For today, and of course, my laptop just went down. We're going to discuss a girl in my group. I'm in about 30 ladies dating and relationship groups, and I have been for over 2 years, maybe 3 years. And ladies all the time write in with different problems, and they're very similar. And we all discuss them using some really, really good theories. So I decided to create this channel to share those with more women because these groups are all private, and so that it can be a benefit and of service to other people around the world who might also need some dating help. Any woman, it could be any age. This could be for little girls. You could be as young as, I don't know when women start dating anymore. Usually it used to be 16, but sometimes teens as young as 10, 11, 12 have problems with boys too. So some of the content might be a little mature and some might be towards really helping anyone because all females tend to have problems with males and setting boundaries. And there's a lot of confusing feminism going on right now in today's society. And so this is definitely taking care of a woman and equal pay and things like that. So I don't want to sound like I'm not headed in that direction, but it's just about being treated well as a woman without having to act like a man. So, anyway, without further ado, let's discuss what this girl wrote in today. She made it a brilliant observation. I just wanted to share a little bit about what she wrote. And she wrote about a Netflix series called 13 Reasons Why. And it's a book that was made into a series. And she wrote this just to share her thoughts on how important it is to raise our future daughters according to having good dating boundaries to avoid situations. So there's a spoiler alert if you're in the middle of watching it. This will contain that information, so maybe you don't want to watch it if you're currently watching that series. Anyway, she writes, the story is about Hannah Baker, a teenager whom recorded the 13 reasons why she decided to take her own life and the people that provoked it. First of all, she brought up, some major issues with this girl that she had some problems in. The first one is getting to know and screening a guy first before going out with them. Do not accept last minute dates, meaning any date that is the same day date is called a last minute date. So do not accept last minute dates. Obviously, except from your husband. If the man has married you, he deserves a last minute date. He's your husband, you're married, you're going to see him last minute. Men that you're just casually dating, they're your boyfriend or even engaged, they have not earned the right to see you at a moment's notice, 1 hour's notice, same day's notice. You have to have some boundaries there. Also, make sure to date him in a public place at reasonable hours and with people around for safety. So she brought this up regarding this show because all of these were flunks, fails. On the first episode, Hannah Baker is a new girl in high school and she doesn't know anyone. And she falls in love with kind of the bad boy, the troubled guy, this hot jock, Justin Foley. The day he gets her number, he calls while she's doing homework, and she suggests they meet up that very same night, which is a school night, and he proposes, let's go ahead and meet at a public park. So there again, this is a same day date, which is a no. So at 10 p.m., which is not a reasonable hour, when it's dark outside and no one is there anymore at the park, Hannah sneaks out of her house to go meet Justin. Now this is insane. You don't leave your house to go meet a boy at 10 p.m. at night on a school or work night. And you certainly don't go to the middle of a park, desolate. God knows what could happen. Either he could hurt you or other people could hurt you as well. You're a single female. While they were playing around, he takes a picture of her while going down the slides. She happens to be wearing a skirt, and unfortunately her underwear is seen. They kiss, and it's her first kiss. The next day at school, the pic goes viral. So of course the guy not only takes a picture of her upper skirt, but then he sends it to all his friends, so it goes viral. And it was taken out of context, and everybody starts gossiping about how she did it in a public space. Had Hannah known better, she would have never suggested meeting up that same night, but continue doing her homework on a school night, which she should have been doing, and waited to hang out with him on the weekend, like on a Friday or Saturday night date, in a proper place, coffee house, a diner, party even, somewhere public. But instead, she snuck out to a public park at 10 p.m. on a same-day date. So that was just, the whole date was not appropriate. She didn't know this guy very well. Obviously, he was a jerk, basically. He took a picture of her underwear. He didn't even have any respect for her or her privacy. And it's not safe anyways, but luckily nothing happened to her. So anyway, she points out that this girl needed the guidance that no respectable girl is out of her house on a school night at 10 p.m. And then on another episode, all the jocks and popular kids are in the locker room saying how Jessica, another classmate, is a classy, good girl because she doesn't fool around, while Hannah is this crazy bitch. So girls do get a reputation in high school, and boys talk and make up things like Justin did to Hannah. Hannah didn't really do anything wrong. She just lacked any kind of boundaries. She lacked boundaries that women should not go meet a man at 10 p.m. on a school night. And really, even if you're a grown woman, 40 years old, a lot of women decline dates at 10 p.m. at night because they feel it sets a bad image to the guy meeting that late, almost like a booty call, or he might get the wrong idea, or it might be too sexualized. So women tend to avoid dates that late at night. Now it's different, of course. None of this that I'm talking about applies to anyone who's married, anyone who's engaged. These are simply dating relationships, dating first date, second date, third date, up to the 12th date. Even if you're exclusive with a guy, no, he's not your husband. A person you're dating is still not a husband. Huge difference there. And you don't give husband privileges to some guy that you're just dating, that you're not married to. You keep that strong boundary up. So anyway, let's see, where did we leave off here? Okay, the next point was point number 2 regarding the show with Hannah. If he doesn't show up at the agreed time, leave after maybe 15 to 30 minutes, but leave also if no sign of him, like a call, a text announcing he's late. Just trust your instincts on that. If a man is running late, he'll normally call or text you at least an hour before the meeting time, up till, 30, 20 minutes before the meeting time. Hopefully he doesn't wait till the very last minute, because that's really rude and inconsiderate, because that way you're rushing or you're leaving your house when he's not even there. So if he gives you notice that he's running, 15, 20 minutes late, or even up to an hour late, but with plenty of notice, that would be okay. So on another episode, Marcus, the honor committee captain and valedictorian, asked Hannah out to a date. He showed up 2 hours late, and she just sat there waiting for him. When he finally came, he showed up with 5 other guys that were looking at Hannah and laughing, and she got a feeling something was off. Marcus makes eye contact with them, and they went to sit down at another table, and Marcus sat with Hannah. The other guys were learning how to date easy girls from Marcus, as he earlier explained to them that any girl who waits 2 hours for a guy is desperate and willing to do anything. He then touches her under the table, but she cuts him off and gets mad and screams. He gets mad and screams at her, "I thought you were easy," in front of everyone. Well, there's a big problem with this here, because the guideline on this issue is a woman only waits 15 to 20 minutes max for a man. I mean, like I said, unless he calls her text and gives her like a good hour's notice, he might be 15, 20 minutes late. That's okay, but you don't sit there without leaving past 20 minutes. At 20-minute mark, if you have not heard from him that he's late, calling and texting, you leave. You go home. You never, ever keep sitting there and wait like that. And after you've gone home and then he calls you, you don't then leave your house and go back to meet him or allow him to see you that day. You reschedule for another date. That is Powerball there. You don't let him take advantage of you like that or get the idea that you're easy. And so here enough, she plays the nice girl. She sits around and waits for 2 hours. And it really created a very negative impression with these guys that she's just easy. Okay, number 3, next point on the show. Keep your most intimate thoughts to yourself and your trusted friends. Not everyone is a trusted friend. Don't be heavy about your feelings, like overdoing all these like deep and psychological feelings. Really, you want to keep those to yourself. And a lot of parents you can't even trust with your feelings. If you really don't have anyone to trust, go to a therapist. They get paid to keep your secrets. You really want to just keep those thoughts to yourself. And even with your girlfriends, whom you think are trusted friends, really be leery about even sharing with them until you've known them a long time, like at least a year, and they've proven a track record of being a trusted friend. If you've only met these people for a couple of months and tell them everything, it's just not been enough time to really know who they really are. In communications class, all the kids have bags where they're supposed to get notes and compliments from their fellow classmates. And Zach Dempsey, MVP, starts to steal Hannah's notes, and she knows it's him. She then writes a long, sad letter to him explaining how alone and misunderstood she felt and how she needed to read all these compliments to give her courage to go through her day. She puts the letter in the bag, and then later when she goes to steal her notes, or when he goes to steal her notes, he finds it. And after reading it, he trashes it. She then feels so offended and rejected. Had she had a caring, observant, involved mother that offered her a safe, non-judgmental place to express herself, she would have gone to talk to her instead of pouring out her heart on a note with her handwriting to a guy who barely knew her. He wouldn't know how to deal with all those feelings, and he didn't care, and he trashed the note. Just because you care doesn't mean the others will. She also got the reputation of being dramatic and an attention whore. And so that's what she wrote about that show that she observed. And I just want to also comment on that. Never write down your deep, dark feelings and secrets anywhere where somebody could find it on a piece of paper. Never write them on a text. Never leave them on a voicemail that somebody could play for other people. You can write them on your own personal journal with a password that you don't tell anyone on your computer, or share them with a therapist, or if you have a really close parent that you're sure is not a big old blabbermouth that's going to gossip to everybody, which a lot of parents do. And even if your parent can keep a secret, some parents actually tell their spouse, who might not even be your real mother or father. They could be a step parent. And then that step parent goes and blabbermouths your personal thoughts and feelings to all their friends, who tell all their friends, who tell your friends' parents, and next thing everybody knows. So a lot of your own parents are blabbermouths, and sometimes you cannot count on them to keep your information confidential. So you really need to screen your parents as well. I have personally a couple parents that are huge blabbermouths. I mean, everybody's going to know anything you tell them. They'll tell their spouse, who tells their best friend, who tells all the other friends, who then tells all the neighbors and tells the cat down the road, and everybody knows. So, it's hard to find that trusted confidant. So a lot of times you just pay for a therapist, tell them, and then it will be confidential. You can get the help you need. Anyway, let's go on to the next point. Point number 4. Do not ever be the last one to leave a party. Don't stay too late when the only people who are left are the drunks and those looking for hookups, and have a buddy system. Do not stay alone at a party where alcohol and marijuana are served freely and no parents are watching. Always be aware of your surroundings, safety first. If you don't like or don't want to do something, firmly say it. And here, I have found the best time to leave a party as a single female is about when there's 50 to 60% of the people start leaving. Leave at that time. If you're kind of wondering, when should I leave? 50 to 60%, you leave. If you actually have a date and he's a safe, trustworthy date, meaning you've known him for a few months, not a guy you're on 1 date, 2 date, 3rd date with. I mean, we're talking a man you've dated maybe 3 to 6 months. You're sure that he's safe in his character and things like that. And you're sure of the character of his friends, that you're not going to get lynch mobbed by his 5 drunk buddies and cornered somewhere, and date raped or something like that. I mean, not to get dramatic, but that happens all the time to girls. So, you can't really even trust your date unless you've known him for a long, 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 long time and you're sure that he's going to have your back. And a lot of men don't. So, and they don't with their friends, and they have that group thing that goes along, like they're a pack of wild wolves. You put some alcohol in them, and they may go after even their friend's date for the evening. So, a good rule of thumb as a female is always leave the party 50 to 60% when it starts of the people start leaving, and never stay past 70%. It's the 70% mark. Make sure you're cleared out of there. Do not be the last person. That's when things can really go wrong. She goes to Bryce Walker's party at his house, the richest kid, and gets in the hot tub in her underwear, and 2 more couples are there. Everyone leaves the party, and both couples get out of the tub to hook up, and she stays there alone and gets lost by looking at the stars in the sky. Bryce then enters the tub and turns it off, and that's when she realizes no one is around anymore, and she tries to get out, but he pulls her back in the tub, saying how the real party is about to start and how much fun they will have. She tries to leave again, but he pulls her back and he rapes her. She was so traumatized she froze during the whole thing and stayed in shock. Ugh, such a heartbreaking story. She stayed to the end of the party. She strayed around a bunch of young drunk guys. No, if you leave at the decent time, always make sure you're surrounded with people. These were all strangers. She was new in the school, and she was just open to all kinds of bad things happening with not taking good care of herself by removing herself earlier. And this is certainly not her fault, but being in a bad situation, unfortunately, sometimes really bad things happen. And avoiding these situations and having strong boundaries will actually prevent so many problems. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on that. I feel extremely heartbreaking. I mean, it's heartbreaking about what happened in this scene. So my friend writes, Hannah was a genuinely nice, cheerful girl that because she didn't mean bad for anyone, she thought everyone else was like her. While it's great to raise your kids with decent hearts, it's not good or smart to raise them to be naive. Just because you're a good person doesn't mean the others have a heart like yours. We need to teach our girls to be smart, confident, and take care of themselves. We need to build their self-esteem and teach them not to measure their value by other people's opinions. It's like, don't be an approval addict. Don't be in approval addiction. It's a people pleaser syndrome where you care more about what other people think or being popular than you care about your own self and your own safety and what's best for you. Also, as parents, we need to be supportive and to observe their behavior. Good mothers are observant mothers. Hannah had a beautiful long hair and she cut it herself, chin length, started dropping her grades at school, and she had no friends. No one ever called her to hang out. No one visited her, and she went from being a very happy girl to very dark and secretive. Her parents were too busy with their store, paying back debt from moving to another city. They didn't spend time with their daughter, didn't reach out to her when she was showing signals that something was wrong. And she writes, our kids should feel that it doesn't matter how stressful we look, we care about them and about whatever thing they want to share or say to us. So this story is just so heartbreaking, but that's the end of what she wrote about that situation. And it's just so important as girls and young females, it's such a critical time in that age between 8 years old up to 21 years old. A lot of girls don't have strong boundaries. They've never been taught what should they do, what shouldn't they do. And as I found out, I went and bought a bunch of books called Boundaries in Dating or Having Boundaries, and the boundary books never tell you what the hell the boundaries should be. That's the big problem with them. You need a book that gives you actual list of boundaries and guidelines to go by, so that if you're raised by wolves with a bunch of wild parents who never help you and they're crazy and they can't, their lives are so dramatic and out of control that their boundaries themselves are bad, so they can't tell you what your boundaries should be. So you want to have these strong boundaries. So just to recap in this little story here, what the boundaries should be. Number 1, no last minute last minute night dates, or no last minute dates the same day. Always make a man or boy have a date at least 3 days in advance. This is to basically make sure he respects you, he appreciates the date, and that it means something. He's not just bored and trying to hang out with you at the very last second because everything else fell through, or the girl he really wants to be out with, she's busy. It creates basically a structure that you're a high value woman, just wait 3 days. And also as a female, you really need those 3 days to get ready for the date. Sometimes you want to get your hair and nails done and get your outfit together, or maybe find something to wear or your shoes to match. And so a lot of times you kind of need those 3 days to prepare anyways, especially in the first 12 dates. Make sure they're all 3 days in advance to set boundaries, that you're not just some last minute easy girl, so that they respect you. And also to give yourself time to prepare. So that was a big one in this. Meeting late at night. Do not meet late at night. Meet at a respectable time. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, maybe even 8 o'clock, depending on the person. Make sure your dates they can be any day of the week, but if they're Monday through Thursday, you want to have them at a reasonable time for school and work nights, like 6, 7 o'clock, maybe up to 8 o'clock. And you want to make sure you're home by 10 p.m. just to set things off on a good precedent that you're a high value woman, that you have, you're responsible, you need your good night's sleep and things like that, so that the man doesn't take advantage of you. And also, don't write down big, long, emotional tirades in writing or in text messages or on emails. Never do that. Always keep those basically to yourself, or only talk to somebody verbally, face to face. Never leave them on a voicemail. Anything incriminating, like don't leave any evidence of anything writing when you're upset. That can come back and haunt you later. Also, what was I going to say? Don't wait if the date is late more than 15-20 minutes. Just leave, and if they call you or text you later, like an hour later, oh, I'm sorry, I'm hung out at work, just say, Sorry, let's reschedule for another time. Or just don't say sorry, just say, okay, we can make it another time, basically. Never let them still come by later that night and see you. If they did that, it's rude. You'll just make them wait, and then still the date has to be 3 days in advance. And if they do it extremely rudely, I would even make them wait like another week or two to reschedule. I've never been one to do it right away unless they literally had a tire that broke down or something like their boss made them stay late at work and it's provable and they really mean it because they've inconvenienced me. I've gotten ready for 2 hours and, just don't make it that easy because men will not appreciate it at all and they'll think you're kind of a more low value woman. So you want to keep that high value. And then also make sure you discuss your problems with a trusted confidant, a paid therapist who's paid to be confidential, a parent if you're sure they'll stay confidential, a best friend if you're sure they're confidential and you've known that best friend at least like a year, not just some friend at school you met and you've been out with them 3 times hanging out and you don't even know if they're the town gossip or not. And you just want to behave with high standards and strong boundaries and, keep yourself and your reputation as high as possible by not engaging in these high risk behaviors. Like don't go to that party alone. Don't be the last one to leave that party. Leave about 50-60% of the people are still there. Make sure you get out of there. Don't drink if you're alone and you're around people you don't know and trust. You could very easily be hit up by some guys or a pack of guys. So you definitely want to keep yourself sober and just get out of there at a decent hour, like 10 o'clock, for example, 10, 11 o'clock. Don't stay late. Or if the people are all leaving at 9, you leave at 8:30. You get the message. And just be smart. You have to think about these things and take good care of yourself. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. If you listened all the way to the end for my long ramblings, I really appreciate it. I'm going to have more videos. I have quite a lot of material, and these videos are just to help girls stay out of, harmful situations and date with high boundaries and high self-esteem. Dates 0 on up to engagement. Once you're engaged and you're married, obviously it's a whole different ball game and it doesn't count. So this is just for the dating period when you're just getting to know a guy and he's not any kind of husband to you. And so you don't know what's going to happen. Men have been known to poof out of the clear blue sky when you think things are going great. And so just to take good care of yourself and keep your self-esteem high and keep your standards high, keep your boundaries high, and just really feel good about yourself. So that's what this channel is about. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you on the next video. Have a good day. Bye.